I do not want. Yeah. Thinking for you for quite a while, and on my every day and every and I thought it's you, the things you do.
All right, what's up, guys? Super crowded here in the training room. Crazy turnout. 0 people. If it continues, I'm totally fine with that. I'll probably just move into my office. This is probably arguably a better class to be on Zoom for anyway, because I'm going to pull up the docs on my screen. So if nobody shows up here in the next few minutes, I'm going to roll over into my office and do it from there.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right.
What's the latest update?
Yeah, so we signed off on their final change. So it's really now up to the seller and for Tom to get her brother to sign the attorney review document to close it out.
Okay.
So we'll see how long that takes, given the fact that both of these people are technologically inclined. Not technologically inclined, I should say. Because from what I did see on a follow-up email from David, where it says, I guess that email last night, enclosed signed addendum in a form we will accept. Mrs. Bianucci will not consider further changes. Note the warranty offers is attached. Once signed by your office, Tom Lilly will forward to Wayne Bianucci. So let's see how long that takes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Bob said that maybe the listing agent got a verbal if he met the appraiser there and the appraiser said, oh yeah, this ought to be okay or whatever, because they don't have the appraisal back yet.
Yeah,
So I have no idea how he would know that we're good.
exactly. But Michael and I were just we're gonna bite the bullet on this one and hope for the best.
Okay.
Because our friend Bob, he said in the past, he says, well, you can get it appraised with other stuff. So we're hoping this will be the case too.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I have no idea how he's coming up with the fact that it appraised at value. So,
Exactly.
So anyway, all right, we'll see what happens, and hopefully Bob can get that. I don't know when they're due to get that, but anyway, we'll
Yeah,
see
my
what-
biggest concern right now is getting the two of them, basically the sellers,
To sign.
off on this document so we can wrap that up.
Exactly.
All right, what's going on? I'm gonna get started on this now. Everybody can see my screen, right? I'm back in my office here. Little field trip. Good. Bao, you there? Can you hear me? Jen, Rachel,
can hear you.
everybody? All
I'm
right,
sorry.
sweet.
Yes, you're good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through this as if you are familiar with the New Jersey contract of sale. I feel like otherwise we'll be here all day. I do think it's important to notice that, or to note, or just talk about the fact that we have so many agents that are, us included, either going over to PA for one deal or PA agents coming over here for one deal. I just saw a post in the Facebook group the other day where I forget who it was, had somebody saying, send me the offer on the PA agreement of sale, like ridiculous. So it is important to know we're so close to PA. When we have agents that come over here, it's nice to know how we do. It's almost like a different culture, how they do things, how we do things, why they're different, how they're different, and how that can impact your business. But I'm just going to go through the PA contract, and then we'll go over a couple important documents that are different from PA and New Jersey. Who in here is licensed in PA besides Amber Tardif? Marvin, I'm assuming you're licensed at PA.
I am. I'm licensed in PA.
Yes,
Selena,
I
you
am.
are. Marvin, who else? Who said that?
Kiana.
I am. Selena.
Marvin said that.
And Rachel. Okay, awesome. I'm glad that we have a bunch of PA licensed agents in here. Please jump in. Please jump in as I'm going through this, and I'd love to hear about your experiences as well. So,
Just that?
Yes.
$2.50.
All right, so standard agreement of sale for the Pennsylvania for real estate. I love this little sentence here. This is kind of what I was talking about in the Facebook group the other day. This is on most PA documents. I actually really like this sentence. It says the form is recommended and approved for, but not restricted to use by members of Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. So the question came up, can you use a PA doc in New Jersey? Well, yeah, you can. I don't think you should be. There actually are some, like we'll get into a couple of the ancillary documents that I think would work really well and fit really well into a New Jersey deal or a New Jersey offer. But just find it interesting that it says that there. So this kind of stuff is And Selena, did you want to talk about something? Or you just still have your hand up? All right. Biggest thing between PA and New Jersey is there's no attorney review. So everybody probably knows that there is no attorney review in Pennsylvania. It is the single biggest impactor on your business in PA versus New Jersey. And it's so important when you're making an offer in PA to realize this, or if you're dealing with an agent from PA that's making an offer here, it might not understand how much an offer doesn't mean anything in New Jersey versus Pennsylvania. So in PA, we don't have an offer form. So one of the things I wanted to mention here is when we're going through this stuff, let's talk about not just why the documents are different, but how business is handled differently there. You're going to get looked at weird if you send over a proposal to purchase for a Pennsylvania deal. Don't do that. In Pennsylvania, you should be filling out the standard agreement for sale as your offer. And if you're going to add an escalation, any waivers, anything like that, that should be filled out, completed, and signed by your buyer and sent over as your offer. That's a huge difference. So here, we can do an offer in a text, and then we'll go to contracts. The listing agent prepares the contract. You burned through 2 days. Then you have attorney review for 3 business days. In Pennsylvania, a lot of times what you'll see is when a buyer goes to make an offer, they will, and this is a lot of states, not just PA, it's most states, as a matter of fact, they're going to get all right, sorry about that. 2 people did end up coming in, but it's all good. So let's talk about a little bit more about making your offers in PA. So what I was going to say was the deposit. In New Jersey, we typically, what do? We make our offer, we get the offer accepted, somebody prepares the contract gets signed, and then at some point there, the buyer goes and gets their deposit, right? We usually go by what we have written on page 3. This is the due date for the deposit, right? Got to have the deposit in by within 5 business days. If you don't put anything in there, usually we're going to tighten that up a little bit. In PA, a lot of agents will make their offer and they'll send you a copy of the escrow deposit along with the offers. They're literally going to have their buyer go to the bank, get a check for escrow, and submit that with their offer. The idea behind this is once the seller signs off on this contract, you are done. There's no other offers. They can get another offer, they can't take it. There's no attorney review. The timelines begin. The buyer cannot back out. The seller cannot back out. You're committed. Just like you'd be committed if you walked into a TV store or a dealership and you signed a contract to buy something that day, or you signed a contract with a contractor to do some work on your house. So it's so much more cut and dry. In my opinion, it works a lot better when you do it like this, because how many of our clients do we end up having them crying on the phone because they got another offer during attorney review, or it took too long to get our documents signed and they ended up losing it to somebody else, and they say, that's illegal, you can't do that. You can in New Jersey, absolutely can. So just about setting expectations, but it's something to know, especially if you're New Jersey licensed first, when you're going to PA, know that it can move that quickly, and you have to be moving that quickly or you're going to end up losing out to somebody else who was. So it takes more work. I mean, it takes more work filling out this contract every single time you make an offer. You learn, you become quick with it if you're not doing it in Jersey. But it's necessary, because every once in a while, like I have listings in PA and you get an agent who's just kind of slow with it, and they're going to lose out in this market. Nobody's going to sit around and wait for them to, send you a proposal, send you an email, and have all that back and forth. So you can negotiate just like you can in New Jersey. Let's say you make an offer for $200,000 and the seller counters you at $205,000. Cross out an initial. That's generally how it's done in PA. Either cross out an initial or do an amendment, contract amendment. So the standard Pennsylvania Association of Realtors contract addendum is pretty cool. We'll look at that in a minute. It goes over a lot more than our little blank one with a whole paragraph for you to write in. So any questions so far? Anybody want to jump in and say anything?
I do. I joined kind of late, so sorry.
Yeah.
Is it usually a buyer's agent or seller's agent that sort of leads initiating the contract and managing it?
Buyer's agent. Buyer's agent almost always puts together the offer, the proposal, I'm sorry, the contract of sale in Pennsylvania. And you missed this, but the reason is because this is your offer. This contract of sale, this is your offer always. There's no such thing as a proposal to purchase in PA. Not that you can't do that, it's just weird. A listing agent would be very confused that you sent them over a one-page proposal to purchase. They wouldn't know how to read it probably. They're looking for this. They want you to send over the standard agreement of sale as your offer, completed and signed by your buyer. As soon as the seller signs it, you're done. No attorney review, you're in contract. Make sense?
Is that the same thing with rentals?
Is that the same thing on rentals? That's a good question. I've done a lot of rentals in PA and I feel like those are case by case.
Okay.
A lot of rentals are listed with an agent and they want you to have your tenant apply through them and the landlord will do the leases, or the leasing company or the property manager will do the leases. If it's just a regular deal, mom and pop, you're the listing agent, I'm the tenant's agent, it could go either way. I still say for a rental in PA, I'm generally putting together just terms in an email like, hey, we're good, this is the rent, this is all of the information, because they're the ones that need to put in all of that landlord information that you don't have. And you might not be able to pull from the MLS if they didn't put everything in there, like who's responsible for what, where does the rent check get mailed, all that kind of stuff. Those things are going to be hard for you to fill out in a lease if you're representing just the tenant.
Jimmy, quick question for you. So if they start suggesting changes, is that automatically acceptance on their end?
Say that one more time.
If they start suggesting changes to your contract, is that considered acceptance?
If they make changes to your contract,
Yes.
you can make changes, cross out an initial.
No, but does that mean they accepted your offer? Sorry.
It's because Dawn has her hair. Okay. I muted Dawn.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like I should come back in the training room, but I'm set up in here.
So let's say that they just made one change to the contract. Does that mean that their seller has accepted the offer?
Well, if they made any change to the contract that your buyer has signed, your buyer would need to initial the change. So no, I mean, yes, it would mean they accepted your offer, but your buyer would first need to initial that change before you'd be in contract. I don't think anybody would disagree with me on that.
Okay, thank you.
Usually there is some back and forth. I mean, not always, but there's some back and forth. And you have two options. Either the listing agent might say, hey, let me give you an example. Let's say that you put in an escalation clause. The listing price was 200,000. You use an escalation clause. And in Pennsylvania, there's a standard form for that. We don't have that in New Jersey. That's a form that would be great if we could use. Ours basically says the same thing that our office created as the Pennsylvania escalation form. Let's say you use that form and you said, hey, here's an offer. Here's a signed contract for 200,000 and a signed escalation clause. We're willing to pay up to 225,000. A savvy listing agent, me as a listing agent, I might tell my sellers, hey, it's worth the risk for us to tell these people we want to accept your offer, but can you hear me? But hey, rather than sign this escalation and sign the contract, I'm going to call the buyer's agent and ask them to type up a new contract with the total purchase price that they're paying, because we don't want the appraiser to see that they use an escalation clause to bid up the price of this house. Does that make sense? That could be for anything. That could be for whatever it is. Oh, they put something on the contract that I feel like I want them to take that off. I don't want anybody to see this. So let's have them redo the contract and then we'll sign it. That's possible. But a lot of times if you do the contract well, or it's a normal deal, the seller can just sign everything. And other option is that they can just prepare a little addendum and have everybody sign that as well at the time of signing contracts. All right, so I marked this up. So this PA agreement, if you've been to my NJ class, you can see I marked this up really for agents. This New Jersey one, this one that's marked up for PA is really for buyers. So I typically print this out and throw it in a folder because I want my buyers to know, in New Jersey, in theory, I could meet you, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, and we could go look at a house and you could never sign anything until after we make the offer, get it accepted, and get contracts. Since that's not the case in PA, and we know how fast we need to be, it's really important to educate your clients up front, give them a copy of this contract on day one, try and go over it with them if you can, so they're prepared to hit the sign button on that DocuSign once you are ready to make an offer. Let me see. So I'm going to just kind of go through this a little slow, just make sure I don't miss anything that's major differences. This is right here. This line is important to note. This isn't something we have here. A lot of people say in New Jersey, I made an offer. How long is it good for?
or I made an offer and I said it's good for 2 days. Yeah, I mean, come on, we really got to get out of the mindset. Our offers aren't binding. So they really could be good as long as your buyer is still willing to pay that price and the seller is still willing to accept those terms. In PA, you need to put a date on the contract for when the contract needs to be signed by. If the contract is not signed by the date you have on this line here, the contract becomes void, null and void. So you can change this in an addendum. If it takes, let's say you put on today's date and you don't sign it until tomorrow, change it. Don't give the seller or the buyer a reason to come back and say, you know what, I got cold feet and I noticed that we didn't sign by the date that was on the agreement, right? Personal property, inclusions, exclusions, pretty much the same as Jersey. Permanently affixed, included. Mortgage, this is different. In New Jersey, conflicting opinions on this. Anybody's welcome to chime in here. In New Jersey, when you have as long as the buyer completes their mortgage application within 5 days of signing the contract or whatever that exact language is in the New Jersey agreement of sale, they can theoretically change their lender. They could say, I was going to use Frank and now I switched over and I'm using Brianne or some other lender, and the seller wouldn't have a leg to stand on. The buyer has the right to do that. You do not mention the lender on the contract, only the terms of the mortgage in PA in New Jersey. In Pennsylvania, you actually put the lender, the mortgage lender is on the contract. The mortgage lender goes on the contract in PA. So if you go and change from lender A to lender B, you need to make sure that you're not in breach of contract. Any questions there so far? Yeah.
So if you do end up changing the lender, you do an addendum to that effect?
Yep. Yeah, and I want to make sure I pull that addendum up. I absolutely love the PA documents, especially all the addenda. There's some really, they're just so much more cut and dry. All we have this blank paragraph, write whatever you want. PA writes it for you and it says change A from A to B, or change this from B to C. Notice that we in New Jersey have a separate document for FHA deals. It's right within the contract of sale for PA. This paragraph right here. If you were to attach an FHA addendum, because I've seen it done in PA, nobody's probably gonna bat an eye. It probably wouldn't be an issue if you just attach that, because I'm pretty sure you can still pull that document in PA for an FHA or a VA deal, but you don't need to. This should suffice for the lender, should not require anything else other than this paragraph being within the contract of sale. So just a little interesting side note, the PA contract has more information in it. This stuff is straightforward, different types of water and sewer and all that kind of stuff. Historic preservation, be careful about that's probably more prevalent in PA, arguably, than New Jersey, depending on where you're looking. Land use restrictions, more common in PA than Jersey, because you have, in this contract of sale talks about coal rights. You could use this conversation up in Pottsville if your property's sitting on a coal mine. So they talk about that stuff. Oil and mineral rights, which you learn in real estate school, actually become a thing in certain parts of PA, like, hey, we're selling the house on the land, but we own what's under the ground. We're not selling you the rights to the oil, to the minerals, to the coal that's below the ground. So interesting thing for PA, and not something that I've ever dealt with and probably never will, because I'm generally only selling in the greater Philadelphia region, which is what I'm sure most of the agents on here are selling in as well. So get to your inspection paragraph here. Basically the same. Buyer has the right to have whatever inspections they want. A really big difference between PA and New Jersey deals is New Jersey doesn't outline what inspections the buyer is allowed to have. In Pennsylvania, you can see here, it's this huge, it's more than a page. The buyer needs to elect or waive each inspection they plan on having in the property. Wouldn't that be nice to know in New Jersey that, oh, hey, the buyer's not going to do a stucco inspection, or the buyer's going to do a stucco inspection. We know that up front. In Pennsylvania, you would know it up front because the buyer is going to initial, elect, or waive their inspections right here on the contract. So these are the typical ones I highlighted, are typical inspections that you're going to elect almost every time, unless you're negotiating or waiving inspections to try and secure the deal. So home inspection, wood infestation, deeds, restrictions, and zoning, even if you're waiving all of your inspections, you wouldn't probably waive your restrictions and zoning. Like, you would want to wait until title came in and make sure there wasn't anything crazy going on that you weren't aware about. So there's something to keep in mind. In New Jersey, it wouldn't be expected. If you waive all of your inspections, you wouldn't be expecting that you're waiving your right to make sure that the zoning is actually just residential and not zone industrial or something like that. And they can't build a mechanic shop across the street or something, or that there's no huge deed restriction because they're on some open space or in some Pine Barren type thing, right? So important to note that. You want to make sure that this is always elected in PA. Water service is generally elected, although you usually are not going to do a water test in PA unless it's on well, right? Because it's public water, you're not going to usually do a test there. Radon, sewage, property and flood insurance, usually electing these. So just something to note, because if you said right here, property boundaries, that you're going to waive your right to do a survey. And I'd love if somebody actually knows the answer to this, but the way that I've been taught is the buyer is still allowed to do a survey if they waive their right to have a survey, but they're not allowed to then go and say, "Ooh, there's an easement," or "We found out your neighbor's fence is on the yard." They can't then go and make an issue of it. So it would really just be for informational purposes only. Okay, so inspection period, everything's shorter in PA because there's no attorney review. Most of our dates in PA are based off of attorney review, or in New Jersey are based off of attorney review. I'm going to keep doing that, NJ and PA, switching them up. I love talking about this because it just makes me crazy. An attorney told me this a long time ago. When you look at New Jersey and you look at all of our dates that are on the contract, all of the due dates, you have things that are due either in business days or calendar days. And you have to know, okay, yeah, that's calendar days, that's business days. How do I count the differences? And I forget who it was, said, well, think about it like business days are when the attorney needs to be involved, because they don't want to deal with calendar days. They don't want to have a contingency date land on a Saturday or Sunday when they have to do any work. So if it's an attorney's portion of something that they're going to handle, it's business days. And if they don't really care about it, then it's calendar days, because they're not going to the home inspection. So you get 14 calendar days for that. But they are there for the negotiations. So you get 7 business days for negotiations. I just think it's funny, but everything in PA is calendar. Everything in PA is calendar as far as I know. And 10 days is your standard inspection period. And a lot of times, not right now, but a lot of times we were extending this because 10 days just wasn't enough. If you get a contract signed today, you all know how hard it is to get a home inspector within 14 calendar days after the expiration of attorney review, let alone 10 calendar days from today, from right now. By the time your buyer is all, oh my God, I just signed a contract, so I just got you the escrow. Now I have to panic and find a home inspector. You probably already killed a day. So I was, as a matter of just a business practice, I was always throwing 14 days into the inspection period. But you know how it is now. So something to think about.
Jimmy, the transaction person that you just that just joined your team, are they able to support PA deals, or is it just?
Yes. Yeah. So here's your Cole notice. Love it. All right. So we can skip that. Condo, not a condo. Maintenance and risk of loss. Basically, all of this stuff I'm not really getting into because it's pretty similar to New Jersey. Just because I see the word taxes here, it's going to remind me when you're doing your closing costs for Pennsylvania, it's imperative that you remember that there's a transfer tax that's substantial. In Pennsylvania, the state charges a 2% transfer tax, which is split between the buyer and the seller. So if your buyer is going to buy a $500,000 house in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, they have a $5,000 charge on top of all of their closing costs. Closing costs could be $20,000 in PA because of this. In Philadelphia charges an additional 2% transfer tax for a total of 4%, split evenly between the buyer and the seller. So 2% on the buyer side, 2% on the seller side. Love to see that. So it's a really big charge to your buyer side. And now, right now, with how competitive the market is, a lot of buyers are offering to pay the whole transfer tax for the seller. So make sure you understand that, because you're competing with agents that are doing those little nuanced things, and those types of things can be substantial for your buyer, could end up saving you the deal. The nice thing about, let's say a buyer offers 500,000 and offers to pay for in Philly and offers to pay for the seller's transfer tax. That's basically like a $510,000 offer, right? But guess what? It only needs to appraise for 500,000. So it's a nice little way to kind of bump up your purchase price, give the seller a little bit more money, and also kind of combat the issue of now having to appraise for the higher value. Marvin, what's up?
Going back to the inspections, I'm pretty sure this is right, but correct me if I'm wrong. The 10-day period also includes getting back to the listing agent with your list. Am I right or wrong on
Yes,
that?
you're
As
right.
opposed to New Jersey, you've got an inspection period and then you've got a 5-day
That's
negotiation
correct.
period, which is huge. I almost lost $5,000 missing that one.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, so that's exactly right. In New Jersey, you've got the 14-day period, standard language, and then the 5 business day negotiation period, right? So that's what you're talking about, or whatever you've put in your contract for New Jersey. In PA, you've got 10 days to get your proposal over to the seller.
Another good reason to extend that to 14.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. So usually it's okay, but you know. All right. Where were we? That transfer tax is huge. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that, because if you're really going to do business in PA, it's so easy to forget these things, because when we're doing our closing costs in New Jersey over and over and over again, you get used to the numbers, and then you see the closing costs for PA and you're like, oh, wow, that's a lot more than I am used to. And that's going to usually be because of that transfer tax.
Is there a separate addendum if you're going to propose that your buyer eats up the entire transfer tax?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we could do is you could use the standard contract addendum, and you could just put it in additional remarks. Basically, the buyer is going to pay the seller's transfer tax, or you could put it. There's a small space you can write at the bottom of this contract.
Thank you.
All right, so this is, I don't know, just arguably the biggest and the best difference between New Jersey and Pennsylvania contracts. If you check off this box and you read this sentence, it says the seller is limited to retaining the sums paid by the buyer, including the deposit monies as liquidated damages. Go ahead, Marvin. Did you just raise your hand again? So I love that, because in New Jersey, when we've talked about this, the seller can go after you for a lot more than your deposit. As long as you have this box checked off, if you have 5,000 in escrow, that's it. That's what you're talking about, 5,000. Now, I will say this, actually, there's 2 things that this reminds me to talk about. Deposits in Pennsylvania are a little different than they are in Jersey. Very often in PA, you are going to put an initial deposit up with your contract, let's say for $5,000, and very often you're going to then give an additional deposit. So we have the option to do this in New Jersey, but we never do. We almost never give that additional deposit in Jersey, right? Sometimes there are cases where you do it. In PA, it's very common to see an additional deposit, and usually you're going to say that additional deposit is due within either 14 days, depending on your inspection period, or you can just write in number 3. A lot of times agents will just write in after after buyer and seller agree on inspection requests. So 5,000 up front and another 10,000 later. You're putting, usually, I would argue you're putting more into escrow on PA deals than you are in New Jersey deals. You're putting more in PA than you are in New Jersey. And the nice thing is that if it does end up that your buyer breaches and the seller wants to sue the buyer, what they can go after them for is for the deposit, and the deposit only. Whereas in New Jersey, they could go after the buyer for a whole lot more than just the initial deposit. Marvin, I do feel like you're trying to say something. All right, mortgage. Good. Any questions on any of that so far? The deposit stuff, everything makes sense? Yeah.
Just a quick question. So let's say that they were supposed to put down an additional X amount of dollars and they didn't. Could the seller then try to sue for just the initial deposit plus what was supposed to have been the additional? Or is it just the whatever was actually deposited?
That's a great question. I would imagine that they could go after them for the additional as well. They'd have to sue them for it. If anybody disagrees with me, let me know. I've dealt with people not getting their deposits in on time. We're always going to deal with that. It's usually just not an issue. You just kind of like whatever. But I've never dealt with somebody say, oh, I had my inspection, I'm not happy with the result. Because in PA, they could back out. So.
Thank you.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
another thing to note, I know we require certified funds, but in PA, if it's within 30 days of closing, it must be certified funds as per 2B in the contract.
yeah, that's a good call. And actually, we require certified funds on every deal, but I've had listings in PA where I've forgotten to put that in the remarks, and the buyer's agent will get a personal check from their buyer because they're not used to that, especially if you close more than 30 days out, then they can give you a personal check, and our office is like, we're not going to take it, but they have to. Dawn, you're muted.
So you're saying you can give a personal check in PA, but we can't do it in New Jersey?
You can give a personal check in New Jersey. I don't know of any brokers that would.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I don't know of any broker in New Jersey. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, we can't hear what Marvin's saying.
Yeah, I don't know if he's talking or just keeps. I'm going to put Marvin. I'm putting your hand down. If you want to talk, put it back up. So
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, there you are. All right, all right. Your hand on my screen. I keep seeing that you keep raising your hand. So I keep thinking, oh, you're trying to say something.
I'm not sure why that is.
It's all good. So, all right, Dawn, your question is the certified funds thing. I've never seen somebody give a personal check in New Jersey other than for a rental. I know that some brokers will take it. When I was at Berkshire, they would take a personal check as long as your closing was more than 30 days out. So.
But in PA, you can.
Yeah, the 30-day thing is still is a thing, like Marvin said. If settlement is within 30 days, right here. Settlement is within 30 days, then it's got to be cashier's check or wired funds, not personal check. But if it's outside of 30 days, they can give you a personal check. I've had it happen. So I always just put in, no matter how, in agent remarks, I always just say all deposits are to be certified funds. So that way, if they try and give you a personal check, I can say, listen, it was right in the listing.
Okay.
Right. All right. So. Where are we? Limited to retaining. All right. So we're getting basically down to the special clauses, the addenda. Here's your additional terms, James. You can write in here like we had before. Buyer has some more things to initial that they've received all these documents. I'm going to go into some of the addenda now. Let's talk about the BFI first. Who's dealt with the BFI? I know if you've made offers in PA, you probably have. I was making offers in PA and I wasn't having my buyers fill this out. Every single listing agent's going to ask me for it. This is really getting to know your buyer. The buyer's financial information, standard Pennsylvania document. Most brokers are going to require this for compliance. This goes over all of your buyer's financial information. In New Jersey, what do we send over? Proposal to purchase, pre-approval, that's it. Nobody's calling and asking the buyer, how much you have in your checking account? Hey, how much is your monthly auto payment? In PA, they've got to put that information. They've got to disclose that on the BFI. They put it in there.
So who gets this? Is it just for the
Great question. It's supposed to come from the buyer to you, and then you'll present it along with their offer. However, because you can see basic salary for both buyers over like all of their info, you know, I usually will tell my buyer, if they're my friend, I say, here's the listing agent's email. I'm going to send over your offer and tell them that you're just going to email that directly to them because of our relationship. You can do that. As much as I want to know how much all my friends are making and how much money they have in their bank, I could understand them like not wanting me to know, you know? So I just always say that. I'm like, listen, you have to fill this out. They're going to ask for this. It's a standard Pennsylvania document. You've got to fill this out to show the seller that you're a strong buyer. When you fill it out, send it over to the listing agent directly. Here's their email.
So the actual seller gets to see this information.
Yep, correct, yes.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
So Jimmy, you have to, this is in lieu of the proposal to purchase, or this is in with pre-qual?
This is along with, so no proposal to purchase in PA, no proposal to purchase, just the contract of sale.
And
But yes, this is in addition to it. Yeah, yeah. In every instance where I didn't send this over, I've been asked for it. And I've asked for it in every instance that I don't receive. I don't think that I've ever not received it when I've had a listing in PA. Agents just send this over to you. But for obvious reasons, I don't feel comfortable most of the time. You know, I help a lot of my friends and family in PA. I'm not trying to know, how many years of their job and stuff. So that's it. So I do like to talk about this because I think it's often overlooked. I don't know how I feel about it. I hear you, James, oh my God, you really, like, the seller gets to see this, but it'd be nice. I'll tell you what, man, on all my New Jersey deals, it'd be real nice to know if the buyer, what they've got in assets. It'd really help you out during your negotiations.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
I absolutely love this form, especially if you got multiple offers. To garner the strength of the buyers representing the seller when we're representing the seller.
Yeah, because what do we get in New Jersey? You call the lender and they say, oh yeah, they're good to go. They're the best buyer you've ever seen. But this is a real form that shows this is how much money they have. This is how much money they make. So.
Is this like binding? Like, what if someone's not honest about the information they put on there?
You have to take that one up with an attorney. You're right. It's self-reporting here. So.
It's like the old stated income.
Yeah, exactly.
Back.
Like, look at this right here. Buyer understands that the information may be used as a basis for the acceptance or rejection of an offer by the seller. So, you got to be honest with it. You got a pre-approval as well. You'd be foolish to not, but I understand that people probably will. So, all right, let's talk about this. Any questions on the BFI?
I don't know. It's just weird because they have all these discrimination laws and stuff as well, but then the sellers have to abide by.
There's a Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. I think election's coming up. I think you should run for the head of the association and let's get this document removed. That I hear you. And you said, if you were a buyer saying that to me, then I don't know. I'd kind of be at a loss. I'd be like, I totally hear what you're saying, but do you want to buy a house or no?
Right.
Or is it my computer?
All right. So buyer's reply to inspection. This is another great PA document. PA, without using attorneys, man, they just created these documents so that agents can just run through, like we're a bunch of school children. Hey, here's a document for this. Here's a document for this. Here's a document for this. When you have your inspection, this is what the other agent's going to expect to see from you for what they want to ask for repairs. And you can see, here's the property, the seller buyer standard document. This is in reply to the home inspection. This is in reply to the radon inspection. We accept the property in its present condition, or we want corrections or repairs. And then you can type them in here. Or we want seller assist, and we can put that money right in here. Or you want to reduce the purchase price, and you can change what you want to change from and to right here, sign it off, send it over to the seller. And you can see right here, it says not to be signed by the seller. This is just a buyer document. Love this document because it just makes your business life easier. This is what you're looking for every single time you have an inspection. You're not looking for anything else. You're not looking for it written in crayon on a napkin. You're looking for the BRI. And that reminds me that every single Pennsylvania document is labeled with a 3 or 4 letter keyword. So when you're talking to agents in PA, a lot of times they're going to say, send me over the BFI, send me the BRI, send me the SPD, all that blah, blah. They're referring to one of the standard documents. So those are requests. And then I got to go in DocuSign to pull up the.
Jimmy, I have a question.
Yeah. Oops, I muted the wrong person. Sorry, Brittany. I didn't realize you're in the training room too. I just muted you. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
There you go.
We're all here in the training room.
I know.
Um,
How many of you? 3 are in the training room, right?
3, yeah.
All right.
The BRI, the BFI, LPD, none of them are part of the contract? Because I don't
The
see where
BRI
it's
is
in the
not, the
contract.
BFI is not. The lead paint, it, I believe is a part of the contract. This is the LPD,
Mhm.
and this is
Because
made,
Did
Go
I
ahead.
miss the part where you check it off, like how we do at the end of our
yeah,
contract?
I actually don't think that it's on there to check off because it goes over lead-based paint in the contract of sale. This is New Jersey. But I always have this form filled out. It looks just like New Jersey lead paint form and have that signed along with your offer. That's it. To look into this more, yeah, LPD is not one of the documents that's marked off here, but I always just click this box and type in lead paint LPD, and then just attach this with the.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know why it's not included on here. That's a good point. I have noticed that before. That was a good reminder there. So cool.
Thank you.
Deposit money notice. These are just other forms. These aren't as important, but these are always brought up on deals there. There's just more forms in PA. So you actually almost always will have your buyer sign this off when the broker for the seller is holding the deposit. So a lot of times that's who's holding it. It's probably less common in PA for the title company to hold the deposit. If anybody disagrees, I'd love to hear it. I typically am going to put that in my contract that the title company is going to hold it, but I do feel like the listing agents are more used to the listing broker holding deposits, in which case you just need to you need to have this form signed for compliance. And this basically gives the buyer a notice that their deposit money is being held by another listing broker. Simple enough. A lot of agents will send you this too, so don't be surprised by it. This is the cooperating broker compensation agreement, and they're going to put in here, this is how much they're paying you for commission, and you guys are both going to sign this and say that you accepted it up front. So I mean, no funny business later on if the listing agent tries to change the commission or something like that, something happens. All right, then I want to pull up in DocuSign. Also, I guess I should note, you have access to the PA forms as long as you're a member of PAR. So you have to join them as a secondary membership. And then once you do that, your DocuSign will automatically give you the updated PA forms as they change and update them. There's a chat here, let me see. Yeah, you could definitely do that, Brittany, absolutely. I mean, I will say from my experience, agents are typing less stuff into the contract than we do in New Jersey. I just don't see it as much. And they're not cool with changes. I guess we're probably not either, but every experience, like I can't stand when an agent either sees my sign and it says Morristown, or they see that I'm a New Jersey agent. I just can't. Sometimes they're just immediately like when you're driving and somebody's like, oh, that's definitely a New Jersey driver. That's a PA driver. Like, relax, not a big deal. All right, what was I looking for here? Oops. I just felt like there was one important document we didn't get to talk about. Well, here's the price escalation, standard PAR form we talked about. So just in DocuSign, I'm not even going to open it up because it looks just like any other escalation addendum you've seen, but it can be made directly part of the contract of sale.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Seller's disclosure required in Pennsylvania, not in New Jersey. Must be signed off by both parties.
Good point. And the seller's property disclosure in PA looks just like the one in Jersey. I can't think of it offhand, but there were a couple things that jogged my memory here. One thing I wanted to talk about was don't charge the minus 150. Well, I shouldn't say don't. You really should not be charging minus 150 in PA on your listings. You will not get a lot of happy phone calls with that. You will get agents who I swear they just sit there and scour the MLS for that just to call you and tell you, what is that? You can't do that. It is not, in my opinion, it is not worth, not worth your time to charge $150 for the reactions that at least I've gotten from when I put that in the MLS. I did it one time and I was like, wow, I'm never doing that again. Go look in the MLS right now in PA deals, you won't see it anywhere. So just either charge the seller the extra 150 if you really are going to want to charge that as a fee for them to pay for your realtor.com, or just eat it as part of your commission. That's my advice on that, because I know how I don't want to start that relationship off with another agent that they're pissed off at me because I'm trying to charge. They feel like I'm nickel and diming them. They're just not used to it. It's not a thing that's done in PA. And the other thing is designated agency. Designated agency is something that I wish we had in New Jersey. And what designated agency is in Pennsylvania, and Marvin, you might know this answer. I don't believe that we have designated agency. If you do, let's say, James, you and I are doing a deal together. Let's say you and I are doing a deal together in PA. If we have designated agency, it's not dual agency. Whereas here, if you're an agent at Cherry Hill and I've never met you in my life and we do a deal together, the state looks at it as if I'm doing both sides of the deal. They don't differentiate from, oh, this agent is different than this agent. Does that make sense? Designated agency means that I, James Stoffi, I am designated to be the seller's agent. And if James brings a buyer, they are designated to represent the buyer. And we do not represent each other's clients, which there's no cross representation there. However, with designated agency, if I, James Stoffi, secure the buyer on a listing, that's dual agency. That would become dual agency. And that makes way more sense to me.
I agree. I just took the PA class yesterday and gearing it to the PA exam. So I just learned that yesterday.
So it's more at the agent level, not the broker.
Correct. Yep. That's exactly right. Yep.
Are the commission percentages, do they mirror what we have here in South
Yes.
Jersey?
Yep. I can't think of any other documents. I felt like there was one more. If anybody can remember, if there's anything else that you want to go over, we can. I mean, I didn't expect this to be a super long class. You know, I'm not really diving into either contract. How about bright stuff? Other things agents in PA do. A lot of times they'll leave it active under contract until you're out of inspections without asking whether or not that's the way that it's supposed to be in Bright. That's just the way that they'll throw it in there. Other inspections or anything, I can't really think. I mean, basically the same as it is here. You have the right to do whatever inspections you want. If there's anything else. Looked at all this stuff. Oh, this was one document I wanted to bring up. I used to print this out and give it to my buyers. This is in DocuSign. This is, if you can believe it, the great state of Pennsylvania created a consumer guide to the agreement of sale. And this is a 49-page document that explains to the buyer every aspect of the agreement of sale.
We know doggone well them buyers are not reading that.
I was just gonna say, you get that one buyer that's like, that's a bookworm. That's like, oh yeah, they're gonna read this 7 times over and ask you questions about it, and you're gonna be like, oh, I never even read it. I don't know. But if you wanted to give them something, you have it. This is in there as well. If you wanted something to put in your file, you can print this out. Standard Pennsylvania document.
Jimmy?
Yeah,
So you said you have to be a member of PAR to be able to get these in DocuSign to have access?
actually, I don't think so. Yeah, yes and no. If you're not a member of PAR, you can just go into DocuSign and go into the group, because Heather downloaded them all. I mean, not Heather, somebody downloaded them all. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. But we put all the Pennsylvania documents in a folder here, right here, under groups. These documents, I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I think that these are free for you to use, whether you're a member of PA or not. Somebody else would have to confirm, because I don't know. I'm a member of PAR, so it's not expensive. All right, how far into Bright how far into PA does Bright cover? Great question. Far enough that I've never not used Bright, up to Allentown, PA, I think, all the way, all of Montgomery, all of Bucks, all of Philadelphia, Chester, Delaware counties. Are there any other MLSs to join? There are. Once you get up there in Allentown, there's, I forget what it's called. It's not as easy to join as it is to join the New Jersey associations. But I would guess that you're not going to represent buyers that far away. I mean, we're talking an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So you get out of Brighton, PA. Anything else?
Jimmy,
Yep.
you might want to go over the 2-page addendum.
Oh, that's what I was looking
I've
for.
used that a
That's
lot
it.
recently to change the.
Yeah, that's the doc I'm looking for. The problem is, of course, my mouse decided to die on me. I'm gonna pull my computer up. That's the document I want, the CTA. And maybe I'm not, didn't see it, but why would this change in terms addendum not be? Here it is, change in terms addendum to agreement of sale, the CTA. This is what we were talking about so many times. This is it. Good call, Marvin. Thanks for the reminder. All right, pretty straightforward, buyer, seller, property. What changes are you making to the contract? Here are the repairs the seller needs to complete. If you need, you can just add another page to this and have them sign off on it. You can just attach it to this document. You can put your repairs in right here. You can change the seller's assist from A to B, change the purchase price from A to B, change that. Remember I said on one of the first pages of the contract of sale for Pennsylvania, you must put in a date that the contract needs to be signed by. You can change that date right here. So if you come to terms 3 days later, you can just have the seller sign your contract, not make any changes, and just change the acceptance date right here. You can change the settlement date here, mortgage type, mortgage amount, mortgage lender. It can all be changed here in a CTA. LTV can be changed here if you're going from a 90% down to a 10% down to a 5% down. You can change the LTV here. Love all of that. Change the mortgage commitment date here, and then change any of the time periods in the paragraphs. And then you get your paragraph for other. So way more cut and dry. Simple enough, right? Almost every deal has at least one of these CTAs.
Jimmy, does Command have a way to differentiate your Pennsylvania opportunities from the New Jersey ones?
Yeah, so actually great question. In Command, I actually helped Heather build out the checklist for PA. So, depending on the last time you've done a deal in PA, you might not have noticed that it's changed. So if you go into a PA deal, 1530, this was a PA deal. Go to documents and select your checklist. You can select Pennsylvania. And then for buyer or listing, the checklist will be there for you for your required documents.
That's great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, cool. Anything else? Anything else you can think of, Marvin? Anybody have anything to add? James, you're in class for PA deals right now. What do you got? You must have the most up-to-date information. James Robinson.
No, I literally took the 3-hour class with Colin Candy last night. And right now I'm fried. I'm taking the practice exam now. And then I'm gonna schedule my my test
If you're
sometime
like,
soon.
if you're licensed in New Jersey, it's easier to be licensed here first and then get your license in PA because Pennsylvania has reciprocity, which means you don't need to take the federal version, questions. You just have to take the state questions, right?
Correct. And so, question I had with that, the instructor told me to check with Georgia, like there's 6 reciprocal states from PA. But he said you had to, I thought for New York, for instance, he was saying, if I'm licensed in New Jersey, I get my PA license. If I move to Atlanta, Georgia, do I have to get totally relicensed again, or will it reciprocate because I live in New Jersey, even though I have my PA license? Will it reciprocate in Georgia from PA?
That I don't know, man. But what I'm going to tell you, the easiest way to handle that is to not move to Georgia.
I'm looking down the line like 10 years, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
James, also, if there's any advice I can offer you, you need to get your letter of good standing and your fingerprints and everything. PSI is a pain to even schedule the exam.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yeah. That's what I'm doing tomorrow, actually, just to request a letter of good standing and go to Identigo and stuff. It was easy in South Jersey when I did the Jersey, but I keep getting PAs a little difficult.
Yeah, they won't even let you register for the exam unless you have the documents.
I muted Dawn. You're good, James.
Sorry, I said they won't even let you register for the exam unless you have all of those required documents. And you would think that PSI wouldn't need that, but they do.
Oh yeah, yes.
Gotta love it.
Is there like a review
Thank you
course
for
or
that.
something just for Pennsylvania?
Yes,
You
there
don't
is.
have to do the whole thing. Like if you're just doing the 30 question test, is there like a review course or something?
I'll let James answer that.
Yes, that's what we took. Colin Kenny and I was on it last night at Garden
Can't hear
State.
Jimmy.
James, I was going to let James Robinson answer that. There is a state practice exam that you can take over and over again.
Okay.
Pretty good.
But it's a class we took last night. It was
class,
offered last night. Garden State Real Estate Academy.
State Academy,
offered
yes.
it.
All right, that's cool.
They have one in September as well. It's 3 hours.
September 28th.
September 28th, cool.
GSREA.com. All right, that's it. I don't have anything else really. I'm here. If anybody has any questions they can think of, let me know. Do my best to help you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I'm gonna walk in the training room, guys. Yep. See ya.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Jimmy, I have a question. It has nothing to do with this.
Sure. What's up?
My clients want to offer home warranty. Do we work with anybody?
Yeah. Yes, I'll send you the information for that. It's $425. They pay it at closing.
$125?
Yep, they pay it at closing.
Okay.
You just need to let the title company know prior to closing. I'll help you with that once you get under contract. But for now, you can just say, yes, we can, and I'll send you the information for it so you can share that with your clients or with any buyers.
Okay, it's the buyer's agent that's asking.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. No problem. You can send that right over to them. Just tell them that you can get whatever warranty they want, but First American does a good job. That's who we're affiliated with. They're a national company. I think they do a good job.
All right, thanks.
Yep. All right. I'm going to end this. I'm going to send that to you now, Jeanette. See you guys.
All right, thanks. Bye.